There's a 20-year plus history of growing data on the effectiveness of neurofeedback. More recently, there's actually data specifically geared towards the addictions. Centers have demonstrated that individuals who undergo neurofeedback are more likely to remain in treatment, they're more likely to be dedicated to the treatment process, and the outcomes demonstrate they're much less likely to relapse.
The outcome of the studies indicated to us that this was a very valuable tool that we need to keep and use.
I've noticed a big change.
I'm like a new woman here.
I came here based on alcohol addiction.
I came here seeking treatment for my drug and alcohol addictions. One of the main reasons why I chose New Seasons was because of the neurofeedback program. So I looked all over the United States, and there was only two rehab centers that had neurofeedback available. I had been to one other treatment center, and there it was very similar philosophy to this one, except for they didn't have neurofeedback available. And I wanted something different, and that obviously I relapsed after the last one. And so I chose New Seasons, and the neurofeedback is, I mean, definitely, like, from doing it, I mean, obviously it is something very different.
I didn't think you could change your brain by staring at a video game. You know, I didn't know it existed.
We utilize neurofeedback as a part of a holistic approach. We do offer the psychotherapy. We do offer physical training. We offer acupuncture. We also, in offering the neurofeedback, the goal there is to help with the emotional regulation. It's not either or. It isn't that the neurofeedback is making all the difference in their addiction process. It isn't that only the psychotherapy can be helpful. It's hand in glove.
I also noticed that when people are doing alpha theta, they're more open to other therapies that are going on within the treatment center. They seem to be more open to step study. They seem to be more open when they're in a group therapy. It kind of opens them up a little bit to, you know, getting some of this information. So that's the other, another aspect of the therapy that I think is very valuable as far as recovering addicts go.
I've been here a little over 4 months. I've done neurofeedback every weekday since I've been here. I've noticed a big change. My mood is much more stable. Sleep patterns, being able to get to sleep, feeling calmer during the day.
I'm a clinical neuropsychologist, licensed as a psychologist, so I'm the licensed person on site that has gone through the training for neurofeedback and have an understanding how to supervise that. We also have 2 separate technicians that have thoroughly gone through the whole training and are clinicians in and of themselves. They interact with the client in a clinical kind of way. For example, there's questions that we have them answer at the very beginning of every session about how they're doing. Many times information will come up and they'll start talking with that person, and they may express things that they aren't necessarily expressing in the psychotherapy sessions. So our technicians are utilized as a member of the treatment team.
It's at first it was kind of awkward, just because I'm not used to doing it. But other than that, it's almost kind of a nice break from the rest of the day. You know, I'm so busy kind of consciously working on stuff that it's nice to kind of sit back and just take a break and let whatever happens up there happen.
By gaining the feedback in a game-like situation, the people actually are able to look forward to it. They certainly enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm noticing a change in my psychotherapy as well as, you know, outside of the sessions.
By utilizing the neurofeedback system, we're able to get the client to benefit that much more from the other aspects of the program.
When I was in therapy at my last rehab center, the difference that I saw there from here was that I became really emotional, but I had a hard time getting out of that emotion and moving along into then kind of processing it out. So I felt like it was kind of, I was stuck And then now with the real neurofeedback, I'm able to kind of feel my emotion, recognize it, but then incorporate it into the greater context of what I'm discussing.
I don't have the hunger to drink.
One of the reasons why I'm interested in neurofeedback is because I'm a neuropsychologist in addition to being a psychologist. I want to understand what's going on a brain level that leads this person to act in a certain way. The more we understand about brain functioning, the better therapists we're going to be. So I'm interested in anything that has to do with changing the brain, because that's how we change people. And one of the strongest ways to change the brain is with neurofeedback. It is direct, it's strong, but it's non-invasive. It has no significant secondary effects. I'm not saying do away with medications. There's reasons for clients to be on medications. There's reasons for clients to be involved in psychotherapy. There's reasons to have clients exercise. There's reasons for clients to exercise their brain.
My understanding right now is that 75 to 95% of the people entering treatment suffer from some degree of brain dysfunction, directly connected to using drugs and the lifestyle that goes with it, because a lot of drug addicts, if they're using, they're not eating right, they're not sleeping right, and all of that has an effect on the central nervous system.
And the friends that I've made here, the people in the AA program that I go to have noticed a big difference in me. I don't take things as seriously as I used to. And I don't bite my fingernails anymore, which is pretty big.
My peers at the program have noticed that I'm just I'm coming along nicely, and they've actually mentioned that they're impressed with my progress and admire it, and some even say inspired by it.
Before neurofeedback, I was so hyper.
He actually got diagnosed with ADHD when he was in 3rd grade, and we went to the doctor, and the only solution that he had was to put him on medications. It actually seemed to help him in school, but within 6 months he was having horrible side effects. It really changed his personality, and that was probably the worst part for us, is that he became like a walking zombie. We felt trapped. We didn't know what to do. We knew it wasn't working for him, but we didn't know what else to do. Been running internet searches since 3rd grade, looking for an alternative treatment for him, and I had early on read about neurofeedback. I was hoping that we could, never have to put Sam back on medications, and that he would be able to function, and it would just help him. We wanted to just help him become more independent and to give him more confidence.
Hello.
Hello.
Sue. Hi, Sam. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Jen.
So, good. So, how are things since last time?
Pretty good.
Yeah? Yeah? Sleep still good?
Yeah.
All right. School still good?
It's getting better.
All right. Have a seat, Sam. Let's get you hooked up.
When they put the electrodes on me, it feels relaxing. And when I'm at the game, it feels like I'm really inside the game. All I just noticed is that I'm more focused during the session. But after a session, I feel great. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Alrighty.
After neurofeedback made me focus more, I was able to concentrate on what the teacher was saying, and I was able to figure out what to do. I was like, wait. When I was at home, it's like, oh wait. It's like, I can do this.
Sam has gone into 6th grade a completely different person.
I could focus more, I could write neat. Before I could not even read my writing. But with the neurofeedback, I'm able to read my writing. And I never knew I could write this neat.
He comes home from school, and the first thing he does is his homework. And I don't ask him to. He wants to do it, he wants to get it out of the way. He's done it all on his own, and his grades are fantastic. He's made honor roll both semesters, and it's been good.
Tell me how baseball is different since you've been doing this brainwave training.
Well, I could focus more easily.
Okay.
And I could, I know what to do when I get the ball. And when I bat, I know where to go. I used to be a really bad sport. I was not good at sportsmanship. But now since I took neurofeedback, I don't care too much when I strike out, even though I rarely strike out. My fielding is just unbelievable. I don't think I've ever been a better fielder in my life. And I'm more confident. That's the most important part. Before, I was so inconfident in myself. Before anything happened, I was like, no, I can't do this. But now, it has to take something really, really hard for that to happen. Now I can access more parts of my brain. It's opened up my mind to do more things. Before I thought I was just going to be a baseball player, I thought I could do nothing but be a baseball player. But now, since neurofeedback, it's helped me open my mind to more things. Like I could be an archaeologist, I could be a poet, which I like poetry. I could be a manager of baseball, I could be a sportscaster. I can do most things I set my mind to. Whoever's out there, even if they think they have the perfect brain, like A student, who cares? This may even make them better.
I have a complex regional pain syndrome. It's a neuropathic type of pain. It started, we think, as a result of carpal tunnel. Initially, I only covered my hands, and about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I started getting twinges in my feet. And, fairly rapidly, I started having difficulty walking.
One area that's particularly interesting these days is called central pain. And central pain is where the nervous system really has taken over for the pain. The nervous systems become activated in various ways, so that the patient is then experiencing pain when nothing is going on in the body, but it may either be going on in the spinal cord or the brain.
With neurofeedback, we're hoping to reset the set point of pain if we can. So by learning to control the brainwaves with the help of the brainwave biofeedback or neurofeedback, we can affect the underlying structure of one's attention on pain and maybe return the brain's pain sensitivity to a more normal set point. You want to come in?
Yeah.
Tell me how you're feeling. Where do you hurt?
Not so great.
Tell me
Hands are really bad today.
During the second session of neurofeedback that he ever had, which was about 2 years ago, he said, my migraine headache, which usually goes along with my complex regional pains, has gone. The next day, he said, my hand pain is gone.
Within between 3 and 5 minutes, it's usually completely gone. And sometimes if it's really, really bad, it goes down to, it gets down to 2 out of 10. But when you live in 5 to 7, and occasional 9 and 10 out of 10, I could live with 2 out of 10 all the time.
Now, he gets these really excellent no pain results, but it returns. So he has a short period of time where he has no pain. And therefore, over the period of time, he has learned how long he can be without pain. He still has all his medication and still has the stimulator in. And he is now training himself at home.
With the home training, I'm able to do 14 sessions in a week, 2 a day.
So he will get about 2.5 to 3 hours of pain-free time twice a day with home training. And the third time his brain does this, he does not get any results.
But I get 3 to 4 hours of quality life. So I usually do one in the morning. Whenever I plan on going out of the house, I always do a session beforehand, and I usually save one for the evening so I can have some quality time with my wife in the evening. You can't let pain control your life, and this is one way of getting some of it back.
So let's see how your feet are now.
Okay, yeah, they're feeling
Better?
pretty good. I can't complain.
All right, well,
So Carolyn,
listen.
thank you
Take
again
care.
as always, and
I'll see you next
see you next
week.
time. Yep,
All right.
thanks.
Bye.
I'm a financial planner, and we manage about $140 million. I wanted to be able to go the next level with the business.
Someone comes for peak performance, they're looking to excel, to achieve a more consistent performance. And there's an issue sometimes in that there's a barrier that they can't really achieve their full potential.
It was myself that was holding back where I wanted to go, and I knew that things can happen every day that you're not expecting, whether it's a phone call, an email, a fax, something that needs to get done. So it's very easy to lose your focus in the middle of the day and totally derail you from what you expected to achieve in that day. If you would look at any athlete as they try to go to the next level, they always have coaches. And it could be a strength coach, it could be a coach for strategy, and I felt at this point I needed to work on my mind, and so that's why I sought out Ray.
There are several qualities to a performance that's critical. One is being focused and attentive. The cornerstone to the program for peak performance is neurofeedback.
When I first saw Ray, we chatted about what my goals were and why I had come to see her, and from there she was able to put together her own plan as far as the training that would be appropriate for me, and we started probably a couple sessions a week.
So John, eyes open, look at the screen. Good, John. I think neurofeedback is so exciting because it's information technology. The person comes in and basically they've tried a lot of other ways to improve performance. Here we have the latest in technology beginning to peek inside and allow you to listen into your own brain and your own central nervous system.
It made me much more present. In the past, when I would sit with clients, sometimes I wouldn't pay attention enough or hear what I wanted to hear sometimes, and then not be as focused to listen to the entire conversation, where now I can be much more focused, be much more present with them in that conversation, so that at the end of the session I'm much more versed in what their dreams and goals and concerns are. I started running as just regular training for the sports that I would be in, whether it was in high school or tennis later on. And recently, in the last 10 years or so, decided to really get back into it. And being goal-oriented, it's easier for me to run if I have something to shoot for, so I decided to start running marathons. And although I've only done 4 and I'm always trying to improve my time, the most dramatic increase in my performance has been after doing neurofeedback training. And so the last race that I did, I hit my personal best, which was a big goal for me.
When you learn as a powerful performer how to be at your very best, you learn how to relax with what you do. Neurofeedback taps into your ability to relax and allows you, when you relax the central nervous system, to release any emotional issues you bring to your performance, so you can really be at your best. That is what neurofeedback does. It helps you learn to consistently get into this state of flow, into the zone where you are able to be present with your ability.
Panic, surprise, anger, lots of anger.
The instant violence, the level of the kinetic attacks, both coming at us and going away. I thought I was prepared for it, but I wasn't.
I was in Operation Iraqi Freedom, the initial push, 03 to 04.
My war was the Vietnam War. And the first thing I saw in combat was the immediate aftermath of B-52 strikes, where there were just lots of bodies, lots of things that had been human just minutes before.
Well, when people experience emotional trauma, whether it's a fire or an accident or abuse or being in a war and you see your buddy's head get blown off, your brain reacts to it in its emotional centers. For some people, not everybody, but for some people, those emotional centers, when they get flamed, they stay in a heightened state.
Everybody asked me, well, do you have flashbacks? And I'm not sure I have flashbacks, I have smellbacks. The first time I can remember being around an automobile accident here in the United States years later and smelling blood, it was just like I was back there.
Once I learned what it was, I realized I was having symptoms over there. I was having nightmares over there while I was there. I was on edge a lot, but I guess that'd be just from the stress of the situation. Tempers would flare. That was with most of us. I mean, I saw a lieutenant and a first sergeant get into a fist fight over an Iraqi being in misconduct while he was fixing the air conditioner. I don't know. I mean, some of the symptoms I've had then, I still have now. They didn't develop till I was there, and they just never went away.
They're living in the past because they have brought that past into the present, right? So even when they're not actively thinking about that past moment, their body still lives there.
I think when I first became aware that I was having trouble was when my wife and children said, will you just stop trying to control everything we do? I was trying to control what was kind of uncontrollable, and that came back home with me. What might have been appropriate in combat was definitely not appropriate in social family situations. I didn't recognize it though, until, I mean, it was years later and my family broke up and it ended in divorce, and it was pretty emotional for me.
The emotional area that we see, we actually call it a diamond pattern. And at the top of the diamond is an area called the anterior cingulate gyrus. It's the part of your brain that allows you to go from thought to thought, move from idea, to shift your attention. And when we see that works too hard, people tend to get stuck on negative thoughts or negative behaviors. And clearly PTSD is you get stuck on the trauma. At the middle part of the diamond, the two side parts, is the basal ganglia. And the basal ganglia, our experience is that it's heavily involved with anxiety. And clearly you're tense and you can't let go. And the bottom of the diamond is called the thalamus, part of the limbic system. And it tends to be correlated with depression. So you tend to be sad, anxious, and you can't let go.
My wife really she'd had to deal with it the most. There were times she had to walk on eggshells. There was a while there it was real bad. It's my reason for not being in the Army. They put me out on it. It affects everybody around you.
So where does resolution lie for post-traumatic stress disorder? It means basically decoupling that body memory from the historical memory. And that is what we do with neurofeedback.
I was a neurofeedback therapist before I did imaging. In fact, it's part of the road that got me to imaging. Doing neurofeedback taught me to look at the brain and to go about changing it.
The first part of neurofeedback for PTSD involves teaching the brain to be more calm and more stable. Particularly the right brain, which is hyper-aroused with PTSD. The right brain controls our awareness and response to the world around us, and that is inflamed, that is over-aroused in PTSD. And so we need to do a lot of calming so the person feels better, sleeps better, is less emotionally reactive, and so forth.
At the beginnings, it was just, relax, lay back, keep your eyes on it, and your brain will do most of the work. And then later, he wanted me to think about certain things that upset me and bugged me, and some things that didn't.
I can remember just being in it normally, and all of a sudden, first of all, I smelled just this wonderful air, like I'm sailing, and what a fresh breeze, and all of it, and I felt not lightheaded, but just clear as a bell and calm, and everything was just, I understand, it's easier, but I didn't understand anything. It was just, wow, what has just happened to me? And, when I realized that this was going, it didn't go away. It just stayed there. And then over the next few sessions, I wouldn't have to wait for 10 minutes into a 30-minute session or 40-minute session for it to start. In 90 seconds, I would start feeling this thing, and it would last the whole time. And this was good.
The first part of neurofeedback for PTSD is to teach the brain to be calm and stable. The second part is to allow the brain to access and resolve the traumas. The power of alpha theta, or our deep state training, is that the neurofeedback takes the brain to this deep state between awake and asleep and holds it there. And in that deep state, we are out of our thinking, reactive mind. We're in a calm, safe place. And then the deeper fears, traumas, and so forth can surface internally, be seen and be processed, and be stripped of their emotional charge.
I could actually feel myself being able to relax and kind of let go better and quicker. As I went through more sessions, I was able to get to that point faster. And when I left, it took longer for some of the small things that bugged me through day-to-day life to come back. Like instead of it being 45 minutes after I left, it'd be 3 hours. And then eventually after about 2 weeks, I actually started sleeping better. 2-3 weeks into it. About a week into the second sessions, we were doing 60 minutes, I actually started sleeping better. It's where even if I had a nightmare, I'd wake up, I'd get a drink of water, I'd go back to bed. Future's actually got some hope to it now, so I'm not worried taking everything day by day. I'm actually making goals and setting them out of distance and working my way into them, rather than just being like, okay, I'll just get through today. All right, I got through today. No jail time, no fights, no yelling, didn't lose my job. Good thing. Now it's setting things out further to the point of I have goals now set 3, 6, 9 months down the road, even 10 years down the road. I have a goal set for 10 years down the road now.
We've been so excited about our work with the veterans over the recent months and years that we've realized it's really important to get the word out. So we've established a national network of participating clinicians who are also willing to serve veterans at no cost and deal with this burgeoning problem of PTSD. The research on this technique goes back more than 10 years. Eugene Peniston was in fact at the VA in Colorado, Fort Lyons, Colorado, where he did the original research on this technique and had incredible results with Vietnam veterans. who were alcoholics, but they were alcoholics because they were post-traumatic stress disorder. And so in that case, there was a joint remediation of the PTSD and of the alcoholism because they were so closely entwined. The resolution of the one meant the resolution of the other. And the fact is that every person in that research program succeeded, bar none, after many, many years of treatment failure. The results were staggering, and now we've had further replications, and now we're just doing this work here on a daily basis, and the results are just continuing to pour out of this. The treatment is quick, and it's effective, and it turns these people's lives around.
I don't know how, I don't know why, it just works.
In connection with our work with the veterans, we thought it would be nice to get some of the usual kind of imagery that is now done on brain function in order to document the progress that we're making with neurofeedback. In this connection, we're working with Dr. Daniel Amen, who is known around the world for this kind of work. He's looked at SPECT scans for a variety of clinical conditions, including for PTSD. And so when one of our veterans was willing to do that, we sent him down there for some SPECT imagery down to Newport Beach. And after the neurofeedback, another set. And we were just really struck by the difference that we could see in the data. Now, we were already excited about the progress that he had been making in the neurofeedback, but it's ever so much better to see it in real color, in living color. This shows the SPECT imagery. SPECT stands for Single Photon Emission Computerized Tomography, and it shows us elevations in activity level up here at the anterior cingulate cortex, at the basal ganglia, and at the thalamus, and a whole lot of activity back here at the cerebellum. And this pattern, this diamond pattern, is the characteristic pattern that we, or Dr. Amen, expects to see typically in the case of post-traumatic stress disorder. And this was before the neurofeedback, and here we're seeing the same brain after a number of neurofeedback sessions. So in particular, the anterior cingulate cortex has calmed down significantly. The basal ganglia have calmed down. The thalamus is still lively, but look at the cerebellum. It is just majorly decreased in activity level. And we read that as being all to the good. This is a calmer brain that is more able to control and regulate its own activity. And that's very much the experience that this person has in his life. He's just more in charge of his life. And so the experience of neurofeedback for him has been nothing less than transformational.